The hosts of bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
It's officially been over a year since we started this adventure together. What is your favorite episode? I didn't get to ask it in the bracketology, and I regretted it. So now I get to ask it now.
I mean,
I have an immediate answer, but I want to look back real quick just to see if anything else stands out.
I do. So this may be a little bit of a cop-out answer, but the finale of, was it the finale or the semifinals of the breakfast cereal one? Because I got to eat 8 different cereals.
It's a good time.
And I very shortly after that was given a box of the apple pie toast crunch, and it was delicious. So that one stands out for me a bit.
I need to find the apple pie toast crunch.
I mean, we're out of season now. They did have it again back in November, but
damn it.
Scott, I think, sent us a picture of it from the grocery store.
Yes, I did get some.
Scott, I'm curious as to what your immediate answer is.
My immediate answer is sexiest mustache. I think that just the unexpected nature of it was pretty entertaining. The fact it was a little off the beaten path because it wasn't just a best of or worst of. It was a very unusual adjective that we were going with. Yeah, and I mean, as a YouTube...
Steve Harvey's smile is still penetrating my nightmares.
As a YouTube video, it's just a very, very entertaining and visually pleasing episode in a weird way.
What about yours, Dan?
I think sexiest mustache is up there, but I was a big fan of the 90s action star. It was supposed to be one episode, and we bloviated enough to turn it into 2.
Well, part of that, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to call out my buddy James, who guest starred on that episode. If I thought that putting Scott and James together, the 2 most talkative fucking people I've ever met in my entire life, wasn't going to take more than an episode, I was wrong. I apologize to all the fans.
But I truly enjoyed that conversation, even though I still disagree with the outcome. That was a really fun episode to make and listen back to.
Yeah. I've gotten some, because it's funny, because I think if it would have been anybody but Scott and I, it would have gone a more normal way. But because it was him and I, Keanu reigns, you know?
So I'm going to throw out a question now to the viewers. Let us know what your favorite episode is. Please?
In the comments.
Please? Don't leave me. Tell me. Yeah, get in the comments. Tell us what your favorite episode has been in the last 365 days that we've ever done. Because, I think we'd like to get some feedback on what people have enjoyed, what people haven't.
And now that all the bracketology episodes are behind us as well, let's go ahead and just draw lines in the sand. Tell us your favorite bracketeer too. Pick sides, people.
I want to hear that.
Well, hold on. Bracketeers are the people. Those are the listeners. We're the bracketologists. We've talked about this.
Sorry, you're right. Tell us which one of us is your favorite co-host.
Yeah, and
why it's me.
Well, okay.
This is not a fight that I want to be a part of in any way.
I like how immediately our personalities shown through. I'm the one with the loud, dumb idea. Dan is quick to jump on, and Matt is like,
I don't know. My self-esteem doesn't really want this, so.
Is my ego ready for this bruise?
We're about to find out. Let us know. Get in the comments.
Hello and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. I am a steel chair to the back, Scott Grubb.
There's glass breaking. I'm Matt Robison.
And I'm the stingiest stinger, Dan Default.
This week...
Hold on. If you just change one letter in both of those...
Stinkiest stinker.
Yeah, much more accurate.
Absolutely true.
I showered today, fellas. Come on.
This week, we jump into a new bracket. Fellas, what do we got? What are we starting? I'm excited for this one.
We've got the Legendariest WWE Champion.
That is right. Diving into the world of pro wrestling.
So before you all push skip or stop on this episode, okay, we're gonna try to level the
Playing field
entryway, so that you can feel, even if you don't know professional wrestling or professional wrestlers, you can still feel as you're a part of the show, because we'll try to explain some things.
I think there's quite a few names on this list that are still, like, especially for people in our demographic, our age range. There's some names that penetrated into pop culture
for sure,
on this list for sure. So I think even just a cursory knowledge of pop culture, you'll be all right with these.
Sure. We have broken up no, I agree with you, but I was trying to move us on a little bit. We've broken up the bracket into 4 divisions. So we're back to divisions and we're back to rankings. So we're going to explain a little bit. Dan, what are our divisions that we've got set up?
So we've got, starting on the West Coast, the Golden Age, the Bronzer Age, and then flying over to the East Coast, we have the Attitude Age and the Modern Age.
Now, what are the differences between those different divisions?
So the Golden Age is like the earlier days of wrestling. Some of these performers were still in regional competitions before a couple of really big names came in and bought them up. And then in the early parts of that kind of collection there by those 2 big names. The Bronzer Age comes right after that, where you have the 2 kings of the wrestling at that time kind of going against each other. The Attitude Age is where they really kicked things up a notch, where it was a whole bunch of blood and attitude and everything was edgy. And, now we're getting into the Modern Age where things are a little bit more PC. There's a lot less blood, and it's the modern age of wrestling.
So everything that Dan just said, except swap the middle 2. So the Attitude Age comes after the Golden Age. That's really where we start with a lot of like the blood and things got crazy. And then the Bronzer Age comes in. And that's just, we tried to break the divisions up by just literal eras within professional wrestling, and it just didn't work because
our counts were too.
The Golden Age is a much larger time frame than any of the others.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it comes down to.
It's also worth pointing out that to make this list, you have to have had a World Heavyweight Championship at least twice in your career.
And that would be in WWE, WCW, or we didn't really bring ECW into it, but essentially anything that's owned by World Wrestling Entertainment.
So there are some notable exemptions to this list. One of my personal favorites, Andre the Giant, only held the title once, could not qualify for this list, because if we did not do that qualification, this would have been 62 episodes.
Yeah, so if your favorite wrestler is not in this list,
then we got 2 words for ya. Suck it. Moving on. Where do we want to start, fellas?
That's up to you, Scott. Dan and I have been talking for a while, so you
I
get
know.
to pick.
I know. I was getting tired of not hearing my voice. Let's fucking go crazy and just start in the Southeast.
Okay.
Let's go modern age.
You want to go modern age. All right.
Fuck yeah. Let's start here. Let's start in the modern age and work backwards.
So the rankings 1 through 8 for each of the divisions is going to be based on number of championships. So number 1, John Cena versus number 8, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar.
This has absolutely nothing to do with the competition, but I saw a video that showed like a close up of Brock Lesnar's teeth and how ground down they are, and it's disgusting. It freaks me out.
So here's what we can do, right? We can go into an in-depth conversation here, or we can start this out with a line in the sand, piss off an entire section of pro wrestling fandom, and just say that there's no conversation here. This is a very one-sided fight to start with.
1,000% this is a one-sided fight for multiple reasons, but let's just real quick. Okay. I'm going to call out 3 things and we can just break them down on who wins each of these subcategories. All right. Number 1, in-ring skills. John Cena wins that. Not only was he also an amateur wrestler like Brock Lesnar, but he did it for a lot longer and more consistently. Number 2, mic skills.
Nothing terrifies Brock Lesnar except for a microphone.
A microphone in his hand is like fucking kryptonite to Dan's back. And 3,
that was rude.
I think just longevity and impact to the fans.
Yeah. There's a lot more that we're going to be able to say as we in the further rounds as we discuss John Cena later.
But John Cena has to move on.
Yeah. There's nothing here.
Not even that close.
Sorry, Brock, but
a bitch.
I hate every time you come on my TV. So because I have to clean it, and then
he's got tissues, Brock.
Man, come on. No, what's our next matchup?
Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan.
All right.
Isn't it Bryan Danielson?
It is Bryan Danielson, but while in WWE, he is Daniel Bryan.
Are we taking the full scope of his work into account, though?
Only within WWE.
Ooh.
WWE, WCW, ECW. It is a WWE champion conversation.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Or else this list would be much longer.
All right, fair enough.
In my opinion.
I mean, the person, okay, but only their work as a character. Okay. That's fine.
Well, hold on. I mean, I think that who they are as a person is also important. All I'm saying is their work outside of WWE or when they're not contracted. No.
I get that. Yeah.
All right. So Seth Rollins, the Visionary, the Monday Night Messiah, the Shield. What?
The
He's got
founder
a lot
of the Shield.
I don't know what to tell you, Dan. Versus Daniel Bryan, who I think the underdog of underdogs. Like he is the most overachieving pro wrestler in WWE for how he was built. You know what I mean? Like he was always the underdog. He was always a little bit too small, a little bit too slow. This is a hell of a matchup. What are your thoughts, Scott? Because you're being suspiciously quiet.
I mean, was every too slow? Anyway, but definitely the too small thing. I mean, you're right, but he was definitely built that way. And I mean, the Yes movement was huge. But so was the Shield. And so is Seth Rollins still to this day.
Dude, even Seth Rollins as a heel would still get his song sung every single night.
Yeah. I mean, and quite possibly one of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time. One of the most talked about for sure. Daniel Bryan's is up there, but not quite at the same level.
Now, one thing that Daniel Bryan did do that Seth Rollins didn't do is make his own version of a really cool WWE championship. Because that wood one was pretty cool.
Really cool is definitely an opinion.
You didn't like the Wood Championship?
I mean, it wasn't my favorite.
All right. Not what I was expecting. So, what are your
Dan,
thoughts,
what do you
Dan?
think about
Yeah,
these
do you
two?
have any thoughts about these two?
So in this first round, I'm much more like gut opinion. And for me, it's just Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins has had more memorable moments. And look, I love an underdog, and I think Daniel is a great name. But I've got to go with Seth Rollins.
Okay. So just from a Scott, I'm gonna just throw out to you from a statistics perspective. Um, Daniel Bryan did win more championships than Seth Rollins. Both of them are Grand Slam champions. So for those of you uninitiated, Grand Slam champion is a world heavyweight title, a singles title, a tag team title, and one other thing.
It's both
Is it
singles
both
titles.
singles?
You have to have U.S. and Intercontinental.
There you go. Both of them are Grand Slam. Daniel Bryan has 5 championships versus Seth Rollins 3 up to this point. They both won Royal Rumble, both won Money in the Bank.
I actually think I'm going to have to go. Damn, just thinking about Legendariest. To me, in my book, Seth Rollins has 2 blemishes on his legend. And both of them are damn near the same. Finn Balor and Sting. He injured both of them by doing buckle bombs. Sting to the point where it, aside from the like few things he's done it ended his WWE run. Let's put it that way.
Much
we
anticipated
thought it was going to end his career
run.
completely. Yeah, absolutely. We thought it ended his run completely, but AEW protected him really well. But Seth Rollins, and then with Finn Balor, Finn had just become the first, what was it, WWE champion? Universal champion. Finn just became the first Universal champion, and Seth Rollins injured him, and he had to forfeit it.
Well, and plus there's the fact that essentially restarted Finn Balor's career.
Yeah, because he's never gotten back to that point.
No.
So those are 2 pretty big blemishes, I feel like. But the question is what Seth Rollins done still, is that going to outshine his legacy, those 2 things in the long term? And does Daniel Bryan live up to that? I don't know if he does. I don't know. This is a hard round 1 for me.
Yeah. But I'm going to need an answer from you.
What about you? Do you have an answer?
I mean, I think so. I mean, if you look at, both of them kind of came up the same way. They both kind of came from the indies, worked into some of the bigger promotions that are across the world, and then eventually got brought in to WWE. The big difference is, again, going back to it, Daniel Bryan had the whole underdog of underdog thing for him for most of his career. And then, like him winning a title at WrestleMania was one of the first true big surprises in WWE since computers had really become mainstream for fans. I think that was huge. Seth Rollins has great in-ring capabilities. He's amazing on the microphone. His wife is gorgeous. Daniel Bryan's wife is also pretty, but not.
I was going to say they both married pretty well in that category.
I don't know. I think that Seth though has become the face of WWE in today's age. I think that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's one of them. I don't know that it's as clearly defined of a face as they've had in the past, because even when Stone Cold was the face, so was The Rock. There was, but I think if you were to make that comparison now, today, it's a John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. I think they're all up in
Well,
those categories.
yeah, I mean John Cena for a long time, and then less so now. I think that Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, though, like
Yeah.
if you ask somebody who doesn't watch professional wrestling, or has at least a middling understanding of what's going on with it, I think they can recognize Seth Rollins. I think Daniel Bryan, as great of a story as it is, I think, to your point, I don't think his legacy gets tarnished, but I do think that he gets filed away into the annals of history a little bit quicker.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would go Seth Rollins as well, which would move Seth
Yeah,
on.
no, I'm good. I'm Seth Rollins as well. I think
All
that's the right one. This next one's gonna make me mad though.
right. All right. What's our next matchup, Daniel?
It is Scott's, for some reason, favorite, The Miz versus Roman Reigns.
So I
I'm not
don't
saying
think.
he's my favorite. I'm just
Do you want to express your feelings about the Miz though, Scott? Because I feel like you have an opinion here.
I think the Miz would absolutely belong on like a Mount Rushmore of heels. And honestly, he's great as a face too. But his mic skills are just and his ability to pull a crowd in and get the reaction that he wants and just to play to it, or if he doesn't get the reaction he's expecting, to be able to swivel, like he's just a master at the craft of taking a character and honing in on it and buying into it. And again, whether he's pretending to be a movie star and he's better than you, or if he is tag teaming with R-Truth, whatever the spectrum is, he nails it so consistently. And he is technically sound as well. He is somebody who, like, when legends are brought in to showcase, or whatever, and they want to have somebody take a bump or have the legend take a bump, it's often the Miz that is in there doing it, because they know he can do it safely, and he's a great protector in that way. um yeah, I just he embodies his character like all the time. He's one of the people that, like, there's a lot of blur between his reality and his kayfabe sometimes, it seems. um
Well, I think
so
he helped to usher in the current state of kayfabe, which
mhm.
is there is no kayfabe. Like it's all
Yeah,
kayfabe.
embracing social media and
Yeah,
real life and what's happening in the show blur. I mean, look at him and Maurice being a thing, even before Daniel Bryan and
the
Brie
Bella.
Bella. So yeah, I think he's from a fan perspective, and like the response that he gets compared to his competitor Roman Reigns, I think he's completely underrated.
Now, what I will say, I would agree with you. I think that he's underrated, but Roman Reigns also gets a response, and I think that to give a little bit of argument on Roman Reigns, he's not my favorite by any means. I don't think that he's super great in the ring. Like he's gotten better for sure, um, but he's not a technical master. But man, he's had to work through some shit.
I was about to
Yeah,
say,
I
didn't he
mean,
beat cancer?
Yeah,
yeah, he's had some life, absolutely.
that's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about poor writing. I'm talking about terrible mic skills when he first came on, being pushed to the front of the show before he was anywhere close to ready.
But doesn't that still, I think, reinforce what I'm saying about the Miz too? Because I mean, everyone on this list has been subject to bad writing. They've been given shitty gimmicks, but one of these two people have the ability to take those shitty gimmicks and find a way to get them over still. The other one just becomes as exciting as dry toast.
I mean, The Miz did have a pretty bad character initially. Like I do want to like call that out.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
he was.
It reminded me of everything that's gross about the Jersey Shore.
Yeah. And that was the character realistically. And it didn't
Yeah.
get over. But then as soon as he started dressing in a suit and calling people, shitty and doing everything that he's been doing for the last 20 years, basically, he has gotten it over. But at first it kind of started out pretty, you might have actually swayed me a little bit here because Roman Reigns coming into the Shield right away, gets pushed as the new invasion.
The next NWO.
Yeah. And he's still just, and it's not that he didn't have the capabilities, he just didn't do it well as being the front man for that.
No,
You know,
he's the male equivalent of Charlotte Flair. He's been shoved down our throats, has no connection to the crowd, really. Like, I know that okay, I'm saying that the crowd obviously really does respond to him.
Yeah, and he
But
comes in through the crowd.
well,
Well,
he
no,
used
not
to,
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I do need to take into account that the crowd reacts to him. My problem is I just don't understand why, you know?
Well,
But I have to remove myself from it a little bit.
I do
in that
think
regard.
to give him a little bit of credit. So Roman Reigns, in case you haven't watched professional wrestling in a while, was the longest reigning champion in a
Modern.
very fucking long time.
Yeah.
But that, I will say, his tribal chief character has gotten over wildly, like compared to all of his previous, like just big dog, all of that kind of the Shield. I feel like his tribal chief character has been absurdly over.
But my question is, how much of that is him and how much of that is the cast of characters that he's with? How much of that is, again, dry toast Roman Reigns as a person, as an entity holding the microphone, doing the talking himself, versus the Usos and Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa, and how much of it is the cast of characters and then Cody and The Rock? Like, how much of that is really him versus the cast of characters?
I'm going to need you to keep this same energy when we were talking about, like The Undertaker later on in this match.
We are 100% in my wheelhouse right now. This bracket, consider me opinionated and bloviating.
I think you are absolutely right.
I know I'm absolutely right.
Said that to the wrong person.
Well, in this particular instance, I think that you're right. I think that Roman Reigns, it has been, and I think we talked around it, but has been really lifted up by the people around him. And I think that's because they know he's got the build and he's got the power around what he needs to be, but he just doesn't have those mic skills. Similar to Brock Lesnar, needs somebody to do the talking for him, whether that's Jay and Jimmy or Paul Heyman. It's worked, but is it him? That's a valid question.
The thing is, just to flip my whole argument on its side, whether or not it's him, does that matter?
Right.
If we're talking about who's going to actually be a legend in one day and which one's going to be more highly regarded by the general public when they go in the Hall of Fame or whatever, because it's no argument here. They're both Hall of Famers. But which one's going to be the more likely to headline their year? It's probably going to be Roman Reigns.
And I think that should serve as like a counter to everything that you said. I think you personally are really invested in the character that the Miz does and how well he does it. I personally can't stand that character. Like, I'm just not a fan of the character the Miz. And all the points that you made, I think, are relevant to an extent. But look.
But which character the Miz? There's a lot of them. This
company is a profit company, and Roman Reigns held the title and was the face of that company longer than any other person. Yeah.
On this list.
That was a calculated decision based on audience appeal. So the fact that Roman Reigns doesn't appeal to you specifically does not take away the fact that he was talented enough to be the face of this organization longer than anybody else.
Come at me, bro.
All right, let's get a vote. So
just saying.
We're going long on round one here.
We're going long here.
All right, well, Dan, then if you're so opinionated, why don't you vote?
I'm voting for Roman Reigns. He beat cancer. He's going to beat The Miz.
Scott, do you want to vote for the? Do you want to vote?
You're just assuming my vote.
I was. That's why I stopped and re-presented it.
I mean, I'll go if you want me to.
Please do.
I'm gonna vote Roman Reigns as well.
Wow.
I don't like it. It's not my personal choice, but again, like I was already saying before you decided to attack me about it, I need to take myself out of it a little bit. And I recognize that despite all my evidence to why it should be to the contrary, Roman Reigns is more highly regarded by the public. So his legend will live on, I'm sure, stronger.
You know what that means? One's up.
I have to acknowledge him. Got to
acknowledge, you know.
What was your vote for the record?
I mean,
so I have it in the notes.
I do think that mine's a little bit more selfish. I do think that The Miz is the most underrated professional wrestler of all time. And I do want him to headline a Hall of Fame. I think that he deserves it. So mine would have been for The Miz, but more out of hope than for anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you.
All right. That gets us into our last matchup in the modern age division. Out of nowhere, the Viper, Randy Orton, Randall Kenneth Orton versus AJ Styles, whatever AJ stands for. Anthony Jessica.
We went long with those middle two. I think we can make this one short too.
This one feels like a pretty easy one to me.
The sad thing is, as amazing as AJ Styles is, he just hasn't had enough time in WWE.
He's
to
not
have
amazing.
What? You don't think AJ
He's
Styles
phenomenal?
Good call. You know what? Apologies. The phenomenal one is phenomenal. As great as he is, he hasn't had enough time to create the legacy that he created elsewhere. It's followed him, but it hasn't fully shown up in the same ways. So Randy Orton gets my vote.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely Randy Orton.
The Viper.
Dude's been in WWE for 20 years and continues to kick ass, even considering he himself has said, I should have chosen a finisher that doesn't fuck my back up.
He's like the single most memed pro wrestler out there.
Yeah.
100%. All right, where are we going next? Are we sticking to the East?
What's next chronologically backwards?
That would be Bronzer.
So let's go west, young man.
Oh, all right. Starting out 1v8. Who we going with?
Edge versus Kane.
Do you remember Edge's original theme song that was just like Edge, Edge, Edge? It just said Edge over and over again.
No, I don't remember.
Do you not remember this at all?
No, but now I want to go look it up.
So this is my era. This and the Attitude Era are definitely when I got into professional wrestling. Similar, I'm gonna throw out. I think there's an easy winner in this one.
Yeah, I concur.
I do too, but I don't think it's the same as you guys.
I have a feeling it's not.
I have a feeling it's not as well.
So, Daniel, what are you gonna say?
Oh, dude, I'm going with the Undertaker's brother, Kane.
Cool. Edge is moving on.
Fuck that guy. Wow. Fuck Kane. It's Edge 100%.
I mean, the truth.
But you're saying that for out of ring stuff, right?
Both.
Okay.
Realistically, both. Because
realistically, you have to take into account that the WWE very much leans a certain way, and it's more in Kane's favor than it is ours.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm not mad at the decision, by the way.
There has never been a greater comeback in WWE history than Edge coming back from his literal career-ending injury.
That smoke clearing reveal and that crowd losing it, like, because it was never supposed to happen.
Yeah,
I had goosebumps thinking about it.
No offense to the character of Kane, his debut as the Undertaker's brother with the pallbearer, insane, right? Broke the WWE, but not nearly as much as Edge coming back after 12 years of being on the shelf.
Well, then even before that, I mean, the TLC, the originator of that, the comedic value that he was able to bring with Christian and their tag team, going back to the Brood and that interesting day, he had a versatile career. And then, remembering his retirement and like how heartbreaking it was, because he truly loved the business so much, and you could tell it. And then just you want to talk about out of nowhere.
And then going back to the rivalry, the Rated RKO rivalry, and that getting heated back up, man, for a person returning from a broken neck and back, basically, which is what he had, to having an insane match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania, like that was, anyway. Edge moves on. Fuck Kane, the person, and we will get into our next matchup.
Up next, we have Chris Jericho versus The Big Show. So
the Jericho, as their tag team was so lovingly called. I'm telling you, man, this is where I'm at.
I gotta say, man, I think this is an easy one too.
I kind of do too, as much as I hate it. There is one person on here that I don't know. I just feel like their legacy is far greater.
Yeah, I think we need to shout out the Big Show, though. Paul White is, I mean, one of the last giants, realistically. The last true giant, someone that could wrestle and was 7'2", 500 pounds as he was billed for a very long time. He was definitely, the problem is that because of that, he almost got stuck in the, like, you're just the muscle kind of guy. And I
think he was kind of victim to, they never really had a solid idea of what to do with him for any long period of time. He's known, like, you want to talk about wrestling memes, he's known for flip-flopping. He's a face, he's a heel, he's a face, he's a heel, just back and back.
And I think that goes back towards the writing, especially at the end of WCW when all of the writing was poopy dukes. The Big Show suffered a lot from that, but everybody in that company suffered a lot from that at that end. But Big Show never really had a good push, a good writing push.
I mean, his biggest rival was Shane McMahon.
That was a good rivalry, though. And if you really want to be brutally honest about it, he kind of stuck around too long. He was so encumbered by the time he stopped that. And Chris Jericho, I mean, again, we're going to move him on, but just to take a quick moment to at least justify it a little bit, I mentioned earlier the Mount Rushmore of heels. Jericho is definitely in that conversation as well.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, and that's just him as a heel. I think he's best as a heel, but man, especially early in his career when he was...
same thing with Miz, like I talked about with Miz. I think Jericho is like if the Miz's Pokemon evolution, like just like Jericho's right up there too. He can take his ability to take just any random line. He'd say a line in a promo and realize immediately that the crowd caught it, and then build a whole character out of it. You're on the list. Yeah. That was one thing, a line that he just simply threw out in a promo, and it became a whole character, a meme for, I mean, years
to
now.
This day.
Still, yeah. People will still have signs at WrestleMania that say you're on the list.
And I think that with Jericho, and we're going to move him on, but I think he is probably one of the ones most impacted from going from like, just be you and do your character to having a script of some kind. Like, I think he's the one who was most affected by that, because he was there where he just got to be his character. And then it changed. And when he came back to WWE, it was, all right, well, here's what we need you to say. And I think
you're going to get so much more gold out of him if he's got a microphone and bullet points.
Yep. Yeah. So Chris Jericho.
Don't forget to say the name of the upcoming pay-per-view and who you're fighting. Other than that,
have fun.
Elongate one word and we'll be good.
Yeah. All right. Now Jericho for a real one. On. I think we got a real matchup here.
Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy. So I have opinions.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is an easy one?
I don't feel like it's an easy one, but I'm trying to take myself out of it because, man, I cannot stand Kurt Angle. it like
What do you have against Kurt Angle?
I just hated his character, man. I will say I think it's due to his ability to play the heel and how well he did. Um, but like, man, when he was the face, he was a punchable face, and I just
That's why he never really lasted too long as a face, right? I
yeah,
mean, he would. And here's the thing I think that Kurt Angle did really well, especially early on, is that his changes from heel to face. So I feel like we need to describe heel and face. Heel's bad guy, face is a good guy. But his transitions between them felt so natural. You know what I mean? Like it would be a month and a half of Stone Cold being a shithead to him for him to be like, you know what? I'm done with it. Like it just seemed, it wasn't immediate like Big Show would be, right? Where he would just come out and punch someone. Now he's a part of the NWO. Like it just was a much more normal thing. But I mean, you're not wrong. His face spots did not last very long ever because he was not great at it.
yeah. And when I think of Kurt Angle, I think of like, the better wrestlers that he was in a rivalry with, right? It's not necessarily that Kurt Angle was driving those matches. It wasn't Kurt Angle that I was wanting to see, right? It was Kurt Angle losing.
Yeah, but you can't have the hero without the villain.
I mean, I get it, but
as much
again, even when he was the face going into those matchups, like he was never the draw for me, and I'm trying to take myself out of it because he is an Olympic gold medalist. He does have serious chops.
To be fair, he won 2 Olympic gold medals with a broken freaking neck. So.
Yeah, so I'm trying to give him his flowers, but I mean, Jeff Hardy was electrifying.
But hold on, you want to talk about crowd reaction from somebody though? Just think about Kurt Angle's music hitting, him walking down the ramp. You suck. You suck. Like that whole crowd knows that still to this day. And I mean, some of the loudest entrances are of him getting "you suck" chant, and then like to embrace it.
Yeah.
Like he has, and just recognizes his reality now. That's always going to be a thing. And like he was responsible for quite a few of some of the more lasting like comedy bits that happened back in the day. You remember him with the tiny little cowboy hat? Like
that was Stone Cold being a dick to him.
I mean, yeah, sure. But like he never took himself actually too seriously.
That's true.
Despite how he actually got into the business and everything.
Well, I mean, but to Dan's point, and I just want to go back to it, like some of the biggest rivalries that Kurt Angle has had, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Brock Lesnar. I see where you're coming from with some of those, but at the same time, if it wasn't Kurt Angle going against them, I don't think it wouldn't have packed the same punch.
That big of a draw.
Like some of his matches with Eddie Guerrero were some of the most entertaining, and then you talk about him and Benoit. He's not on the list for obvious reasons. But man, it's hard not to have it's hard to have a rivalry like that seems so real.
Well, they were both extremely technically sound.
Yeah, they were both great in the ring.
Their styles were incredibly complementary to each other.
Absolutely. However, I gotta say it. Jeff Hardy is my favorite professional wrestler of all time. Like he is who I grew up wanting to be. When I would jump on the trampoline and wrestle with my friends, I would pretend to be Jeff Hardy. Like when I created a wrestler in WWE 2K or whatever, SmackDown versus Raw or whatever, I created a moveset that was very similar to him. It was the closest thing to like a high flyer that WWE had prior to like Rey Mysterio and some of the other light heavyweights coming in. But he also just did some of the crazy shit. The most famous spot from any TLC match ever is between Edge and Jeff Hardy. And it is Edge spearing Jeff Hardy off of the fucking buckle that he's hanging on 20 feet above the ring. And I don't think that Edge could have done that with somebody else in the same way. It would have been bad. It would have been bad. But Jeff knows how to take a bump. He knows how, he's gone through some shit. I love Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about legendariest champion,
well, you go back to it though, man. Jeff Hardy, leading up to his championship, him first winning a heavyweight championship, he had been through 6 different matches where he just got his ass kicked. Like, it started him versus The Undertaker. The Undertaker was undisputed champion. Jeff Hardy comes out, challenges him, like chases him around the arena, hits him with chairs, comes out, gets squashed in like 5 minutes. Like, it was bad, right? And then the story that you tell of him getting his ass kicked over and over to finally winning one, and it was I don't even know how to describe it, but it was just going back to Daniel Bryan with the underdog of underdogs. Like, it was an underdog finally winning what they seemed like they deserved. Like, the story just built to it, like it was finishing what that story was for so long, because he was just a tag team wrestler forever. And then he finally gets a chance to show things off and to do things his way and to be solo. And it worked really well. The downside, and this is also something that I love about Jeff Hardy, is he made a lot of mistakes and then owned up to them and came back from them and went to rehab and did all the things and then had a DUI and blah, 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 and all this stuff, but kept coming back. I don't know. That's important for me. So I'm going to vote.
And we talked about big comebacks too. Him and Matt returning at WrestleMania, whatever one it was, 30 something.
Man, that entire stadium, especially being given the most generic music of all time in WWE in the 90s, that music hit.
I think too is that it was a genuine surprise. It was something that somehow they pulled off without dirt sheets and other people finding out and alluding to. So, the New Day, I feel like kind of oversold the introduction, but man, the moment that music hit, like, people went crazy for it. And he does have one of the most entertaining entrances. I've also recently learned I saw a TikTok, and then apparently there's like a lot of conversation about it. Apparently Jeff Hardy is regarded as Black America's favorite wrestler. Apparently he's incredibly popular in the African American community. Interesting. Yeah, I did not know that.
And I know that, like, we're not talking about stuff outside of WWE. So while he was employed at WWE, Jeff Hardy, like, I learned how much of an artist he was, and he paints and he writes music and he writes poetry. Like, that was one of the first things that, like, got me connected with him. I have a big tree tattoo that goes all the way down my side. That is based off of a tattoo that Jeff Hardy has that goes from the top of his shoulder all the way down to his fingers. Same kind of concept and idea. And I got it from him. So shout out to him. So I'm going to vote. And then I think we should keep things moving on. As much as I love Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle gets my vote. I think he's more legendary.
Yeah, I got to agree. And this is coming from somebody that really does not like Kurt Angle. But I can't argue against the fact that of these two, he is definitely more iconic. Burns my ass to say it, but Kurt Angle gets my vote.
Interesting.
Who would your vote be for, Scott?
I think I actually would have voted Jeff Hardy. I feel like that I think because Kurt Angle was so often against such bigger names like Rock and Austin and Triple H and all that he kind of got outshone a little bit. Whereas Jeff Hardy, I feel like, really defined the tag team division in the time that he was in it. And while he did have competitors that shone really brightly as well, like Edge from earlier in this list and his tag team partner Christian, the Hardys were a different level. And I think maybe his legend is not just as him solo, but primarily as a tag team person. But so maybe that's the difference, but I don't know. I feel like that that part of his career outshines Kurt Angle's brightest moments, I guess. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm okay with Kurt Angle going through. I'm no complaints.
If this was best tag team of all time, the Hardy
Yeah.
Boys would win hands down, in my opinion. There would not be a single thing that anybody could say that could get me to think differently because of what you just said, Scott, because of the way that they would steal the show anytime they were there, right? That's why TLC became a thing, is because of them. But, and again, I loved his runs as WWE champion. I can't take away what I think is a defining era in WWE history is Kurt Angle coming into the company and all of the transformation that he went through, being a crybaby, being, going to WCW when the invasion happened, like all of the craziness, the
Driving
milk
a milk
truck. Dude, the milk truck. When Dan said, when I think of Kurt Angle, the first thing I think of is the other people. In my mind, I'm like, first thing I think of is the milk truck.
Yeah,
Easy.
100% with you. Yeah.
And that was,
no, I agree. I think Jeff Hardy's solo runs just never reached the level that his tag team did, and definitely never the level Kurt Angle's did. So they were great. They just never got that level. So Kurt Angle makes sense.
Right.
Again, I didn't want to vote for him, but I had to.
All right, one more matchup. What we got?
This is going to be another one of those situations where I don't want to vote for who I'm voting for, but I have to. We've got The Rock versus Rey Mysterio. So I'm just going to say it is going to be very difficult for somebody to compete with The Rock in terms of sheer impact. Like Dwayne Johnson is, in terms of mic skills, probably one of the most gifted professional wrestlers, and he has turned it into an incredibly huge career. But Rey Mysterio was so fun, or is so fun in the ring. And he brought like that luchador style and the high flying and all of his signature moves. And the fact that it has continued to do that with the age that he is absolutely incredible. And the fact that he kept his mask on, no matter what.
I mean, he started with his mask off, but yes.
I don't
know. He didn't start with his mask off.
Yeah, he did. Initially, his first debut, he didn't have a mask on. When he came back, he had a mask.
Oh. Yeah,
then when he comes back again into all in WCW, he went no mask again. But I think he changed his name for his second run. I think he might have been just Rey Mysterio Jr. at that point. Either way, I hear what you're saying, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rey Mysterio is great.
But it's The Rock.
It's The Rock. I mean, and I know that's such a lackluster way of saying it, and I could go on about all the reasons why Rey Mysterio is great. His matches with, like, his cruiserweight matches in WCW were some of my favorite wrestling to watch.
Incredible.
Him and, like, Dean Malenko or Billy Kidman or Juventud Guerrera. Like, those were some of my favorite matches to watch. But it's The Rock.
I disagree. And here's the thing. I think it's a lot closer than what your face is saying right now, because Rey Mysterio helped to change the landscape of WWE, right? Where when Rey Mysterio first started wrestling, he was one of the few small wrestlers, but it was the beginning of the cruiserweight idea. WWE started doing a light heavyweight championship, but it was almost more played off as like goofy and fun, kind of like the hardcore championship, right? Whereas the cruiserweight division in WCW, and then when he comes over to WWE, he legitimized the light heavyweight thing, right? The cruiserweight division, that idea of you don't have to be a giant to be the best in the world. And then in addition to that, not only does he have incredible rivalries with his rivalry with Eddie Guerrero in WWE is one of the
incredible,
the career defining moments for both of them. Like it was amazing. And then you add in his ability to go from cruiserweight, light heavyweight into tag teams, out of tag teams, and then eventually going on to WrestleMania, winning the Royal Rumble, going to WrestleMania, winning the heavyweight championship from Batista, who just a polar opposites, right? Like it was an incredible story. And I do think he changed what could be I don't think we have Daniel Bryan becoming a champion, a world champion, without Rey Mysterio first having it.
I get what you're saying, man, but I mean, The Rock was the biggest draw for WWE for years. And when you think back on the best like matchups, the best lead up to matchups, Rock and Stone Cold, so good. Rock and Kurt Angle, so good. I mean, he had. It is difficult to match what The Rock was able to do and how iconic he has become.
Matt, I want you to know that I 100% agree with everything you said. But it's The Rock.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to layeth the smackdown on Rey Mysterio. By the way, that's a catchphrase that they named a whole fucking show after that has been on for over 15 years now. For him, for his catchphrase. No one has elevated the business more than him. Maybe John Cena, but he kind of did it first.
I mean, look, all that is just changing the stage, right? But they changed the stage for Rey Mysterio too. He used to pop out from underneath. That's the same thing.
I saw The Rock light his own name on fire with a flamethrower once. Live and in person. I was there the night that he debuted for his most recent run leading up to WrestleMania against Roman Reigns, or with Roman Reigns. And I was there the night. It was totally a surprise. If we had been smart, we would have expected it, but it was unexpected. And let me tell you, when people in that place lost their goddamn minds, I had goosebumps. My wife was going crazy because we had no reason to anticipate he would be there, and she loves him. Again, are there arguments for why Rey Mysterio is better? Is he more exciting in the ring? Probably. More technically sound and versatile? Absolutely. I mean, Rock is just like anyone else. A lot of the others on this list, he's just as guilty of having a 5 moves of doom set as anyone else. Rey Mysterio, a bit more exciting in that space. But The Rock is a household name, even more so than John Cena, if we're being honest. I mean, it's The Rock. It's The Rock. It's if Rey Mysterio were going up against many of the other people in this category, then maybe he would stand a better chance.
It was a bad draw.
It's The Rock.
The Rock. Because, look, I love Rey Mysterio. Love Rey Mysterio. I hate the fact that he had to go against The Rock because it's The Rock.
Yeah, if you're going to make me watch wrestling and say you can pick one person's matches to watch for the next 2 hours, Rock or Rey Mysterio, I'm going to pick Rey Mysterio. But it's The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Look, I need a sidebar. I need a sidebar with the audience. Okay? So both of you mind your shit. Look, guys, here's the thing. Dan and Scott have been on this kick for a while of taking themselves out of it. I'm not doing that throughout this bracket, just as an FYI. It's not that I don't like The Rock, but he's boring and it's stupid. So Rey Mysterio should have gone forward.
Way for you.
I was not done with my sidebar yet.
I was audience to your
You can't interrupt my sidebar.
To your sidebar, which there in turn made me part of the sidebar. Let me put it to you this way. Which one of if these two individuals went into the Hall of Fame at the same time, which one of them is headlining it?
Fuck you.
That's what I thought.
Look, Rey Mysterio.
Which one of these is likely to headline a Hall of Fame, and which one is likely to be the only entrant the year that they go in?
So thanks for coming to our... my fact still remains. I'm not taking myself out of shit. There are some wrestlers I just don't want them to move forward. As much as I love The Rock, and I do, he's enjoyable to watch. It's fun when he's there, but he really is the beginning of the pick up your ball and go home kind of guys. I didn't want him to move on. He's already legendary. Fuck him.
He didn't have to take his ball and go home. He found a much more lucrative ball.
Mm-hmm.
Playing the exact same person over and over again.
Yeah. and still doing rock bottoms in every movie.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, that is the first half. That is round 1 complete from our Legendariest WWE Champion. Next week, we will jump into the Attitude Age and the Golden Age. Fellas, do you see any matchups from next week that you're particularly excited to talk about or dreading to talk about?
I mean, the one that I think I have it a lot closer than either of you is Triple H and Kevin Nash, and I think it's because of their friendship.
Really?
I think
Interesting.
because I
you
think
that's
just
a close matchup.
I do. I love both of them. They're incredible wrestlers, but that's the one that immediately stands out to me. Gotta love the Wolfpack, man.
How about you, Dan? Any matchups from next week you're particularly excited to discuss?
I mean, the two oldest on here, Bruno versus Ric Flair.
Really?
Wildly different times, but still, you're not wrong.
I relate to those two, but I think the one that I'm excited about to talk about is Bret Hart versus Randy Savage.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm on that side with you. I think Undertaker versus Ultimate Warrior is an interesting conversation too.
That's another good one.
All right. So that's what you got to look forward to next week. A little preview of some of the matchups we will be discussing. As I mentioned before, if you have friends that you know are pro wrestling fans, or if you are yourself, share this podcast, get in the comments, let us know what you think about our votes so far. If there's one thing that we can count on, it's the pro wrestling community to be opinionated. So please share your opinions with us. As always, we appreciate the support. You can find us on all the socials. We're on, well, not all the socials because some of them are total garbage. Facebook, we know is total garbage, but let's be honest, it's our best one. We're also on Blue Sky. We're on TikTok. We're on
Instagram.
YouTube. We're on Instagram.
And we have a Discord. Join us.
We have a Discord as well. Yeah, please join the Discord and come be part of the community. Again, a great opportunity to be able to talk about pro wrestling.
Come into the squared circle of the Discord.
We want to thank Aaron O'Donnell from Aaron O'Donnell Music for the track here at the beginning and end of every episode. What else we got? Is that everything?
I think that's everything. Thanks to everybody who tuned in and watched our live stream. I'm guessing, because we're recording this before the live stream,
That's true,
that 12 people tuned in.
We appreciate all 3 of you.
Yeah.
For putting our stream on both your computer and your phone at the same time to help drive up those stream counts. Thank you so much. Once again, I have been a steel chair to the back. Scott.
The glass has stopped breaking, but next week, I'm Matt.
And I'm still the stingiest stinger. Or the stinkiest stinker. Dan.
Refer to both ways. Bye-bye!